we are gathered here again to discuss further my continuous lack of self-control when it comes to books. Hey folks, my name is Jen, and today I have a whole big stack of books here to share with you, books that I have purchased over the course of February and March. So yeah, let's get into them. So I can't really remember when I exactly got all of these because it's been over, like I said, the course of February and March, so they've just been kind of getting stacked on my office chair because I knew I wanted to do a video before I put them away. I think what we'll do first is we'll go into the three that I purchased most recently last weekend, and then we'll just go by genre. So first up, I went to Salem with some friends last weekend so we could do a little shopping and check out some of the, sites up there. And we went in a couple of shops. One of them was a antiques shop. I unfortunately do not remember the name of it, but it had very interesting things. I'm a teacup collector. They had a lot of teacups. I resisted the urge. But they also had like creepier things like bones and stuff like that, so if that's your jam, there's a shop in Salem that has bones in a display case that you can buy. But they also had this section with like old books, and I was just kind of like poking around in there and saw this copy of Christmas Stories, and I thought to myself, what? Christmas Stories? What's this all about? And then I opened up the page and found that they are by Charles Dickens, and I let out a little noise that I'm sure startled people nearby, because I've actually been looking for this collection, or a collection like this. The last couple of times I went to a bookstore and looked and didn't find any, and was sure that if I was going to find any at all, I'm gonna have to order them online. Super excited to get an actual, like, old copy. I can't tell when this is from. There's no date in this whatsoever. However, the image on the front cover is pretty horrifying. So that's something. And there is also some pretty horrifying photos, like drawings in here too. So this is a fun addition to my collection. Another one of the shops that we went into was really cool. Also has bones, but like animal stuff if you're into that, and herbs and like a whole bunch of other things. And that was the Covent's Cottage. They're pretty cool. I will say, oh sorry, my allergies have been bothering me so much. They are a really cool shop. It's very tiny, so they'll only let so many people in at a time, and they don't let you like have your phones in there. I mean, you can have your phone obviously, but they don't want you to have your phone out while you're in the shop. So if you wanted to go in, don't expect to like take any cool pictures or anything. But it's a cute shop, lots of interesting things. The guys who work there are super nice, and while I was there I saw a book called The Year of the Magical Dragon by Virginia Chandler, and it just has more about like connecting with dragons and stuff like that, which I'm not 100% sure how I feel about that particular thing. However, I've always been into dragons and been pretty fascinated by them, so I thought it would be at least an interesting read, and maybe something that I could like use potentially if I end up being really interested in it. And one of the other places that we ended up stopping was the House of Seven Gables, which was awesome. I will try to like throw up a picture or two in here so you can see. So we went in the House of Seven Gables, which I wanted to go visit for a long time, so that was a lot of fun. Very much enjoyed that. And then we also stuck over to Nathaniel Hawthorne's birthplace, which was also pretty cool as well. It didn't used to be next door to the House of Seven Gables. It was further away, but it was in danger of being torn down, so they ended up picking up the whole thing and moving it over onto their property to save it from destruction. And it's pretty cool that they did, because it's an interesting place as well. But of course, you go into a historical place, gotta go to a gift shop. So went in the gift shop, did get a couple of things, but ultimately also really wanted to get more of Nathaniel Hawthorne's writing. I already have a copy of The Scarlet Letter and House of Seven Gables. I almost got a new copy of the House of Seven Gables because the one I have is falling apart. But then I found this kind of pretty collection of his short stories, and I have read at least one other of his short stories before. Young Goodman Brown. Yeah. I read that a couple of times. I'm pretty sure that we covered that in one of my English classes in high school, so I did want to read more of his short stories, so I was pretty glad to grab this collection because Nathaniel Hawthorne was an interesting person. So, okay, so first up we've got romances. I bought a few romances, actually. The first of which is Digging Up Love. This is by Chandler Bloomberg. As you can see, I'm already have started reading it. This, I believe I mentioned on my most anticipated books of the year list. This is about a young woman named Alicia, however you say it. I have friends who say it both ways, but she is a small town baker. She works in her family's barbecue joint, but she dreams of having her own, I think, is a cookie? Yeah, a cookie shop. She would love to have a cookie shop in Chicago. And then one day there is an archaeological discovery behind her grandparents' house. Guess what? There's dino bones. Enter Quentin, who is a paleontologist. He works for Chicago University. Oh my gosh. I'm not doing good. I can't remember what I've read so far. I believe it's Chicago University, or if it's not called Chicago University, it is at least a university that is in Chicago itself. So he is there to kind of look at this discovery, figure out what's going on with it. Shenanigans ensue, sparks fly between them, and yeah. Next up, I grabbed The Wedding Dilemma. This is by Mariah Ankerman. I actually follow her on Instagram. I have for a little while now. I really enjoy her reels and her posts all of the time. She's pretty funny, and realized a couple of months ago, oh hey, I follow her and I've never picked up any of her novels, so I end up grabbing this one. So this involves a firefighter who ends up one of these days going to help a woman he's in response to an SOS call, and finds this woman completely naked, stuck in a plaster cast. So he ends up helping her out. It's kind of like, well, she is interesting, and then ends up bumping into her again, unfortunately, at his mother's engagement party. This girl that he was interested in is his soon-to-be stepsister. So as you can imagine, shenanigans ensue, sparks are flying, things are complicated. Here we go. So I believe this is part of a series involving firefighters. I don't think this is the first one. I think this might be the second or third, I believe, in the series. But I think it's like one of her latest ones that came out, so that's the one that I ended up grabbing. And then I grabbed some Alyssa Cole. Two different series. So first up I grabbed How to Find a Princess. This is book 2 in the Runaway Royals series. This is an offshoot of her Reluctant Royals series. So this book follows Makeda. She has not been having a good time lately. She recently got dumped and lost her job, and she's really being annoyed by this person who keeps like trying to contact her about being the missing heir of the country of, I'm going to butcher this so bad, so I apologize, Iberania. The person contacting her is an investigator from the World Federation of Monarchists, and yeah, they're trying to find the missing heir of Iberania, and they believe that Makeda is it. Makeda, in the past, has heard these crazy stories her grandmother, has said about this summer fling she had with the Prince of Iberania. So not sure if it's true or not, but when her grandmother's like livelihood ends up being threatened, she decides to go along with the plan and just see where it leads. The investigator that has been contacting her and trying to drag her into this life of royal duty, her name is Bisnaria. And like there's sparks flying here too. It says on the back that they go on a transatlantic adventure with a crew of lovable weirdos, a fake marriage, and one-bed hijinks on the high seas. And that description pretty much sold me on this. I mean, I was planning on reading this book at some point anyway because I really like her writing, but like that made the decision for me to get this like now-ish. And then for another series, I end up grabbing A Hope Divided and An Unconditional Freedom, and these are books 2 and 3 in the I think it's the Loyal League series. These are historical romances, actually. This one is following Marley. She's been helping the Union effort. She helps send coded letters. She makes tisanes and poultices and other healing things for Union troops. And she has been basically helping people flee north. Unfortunately, her assistance with everything has been thwarted recently by members of the Confederate Army taking over her house, which is really scary also because she is currently hiding an escaped prisoner named Ewan, and so they are in a pretty tough situation overall. So this is kind of following their portion of the overall like overarching story in their own section of it, and then this one is about Daniel. He was born free in Massachusetts and studied law and wanted to one day hopefully become a lawyer or somebody who could help his people, but unfortunately that dream kind of died when he was kidnapped and sold into slavery in the South. He was saved, however, he is completely changed by this experience whatsoever. He does end up helping out with the Loyal League, but he does end up joining the Loyal League and trying to help get revenge on the Confederacy, basically. So this, on the other end of things, is a young woman named Janita. She lives on a Florida plantation, the daughter of an enslaved woman and the plantation owner who ended up marrying her. The Union Army ends up occupying Janita's home and throwing her father in prison, and under complete duress, Janita decides to infiltrate the Loyal League, kind of like a double agent. Therefore, these two people are kind of thrown together under these kind of differing circumstances. So I think this is going to be interesting because the other times it sounds like everybody's kind of on the same side, but this one involves like double agents, so it's a little bit more complicated. I did really enjoy the first book in the series, which is An Extraordinary Union. It was one of my first 5-star reads of the year, basically, so I'm really excited to finish out this trilogy. Along the same lines of the Civil War, I guess, I have Scenes in the Life of Harriet Tubman by Sarah H. Bradford. So, I know the vaguest bits of information about Harriet Tubman. We didn't really cover too much about her in school from what I remember. I know at one time I had a book about her as a kid, but I honestly can't remember if I ever read it. So I was looking around for more books about her, and, you know, just trying to learn more information between, like, the myth and the person, and I came across this thin little book, which is written by a woman who knew her. So not only did this woman, Sarah Bradford, like, interview her, basically, she actually knew her and I believe was a friend of hers, so I thought that this is possibly one of the best books about her that I could read, because it's based on someone who actually knew her in real life. So yeah, I decided to grab this. It doesn't seem like it's written in your typical normal book fashion, like there's weird spaces in between everything, but I still think this is going to be pretty interesting. I'm not sure if it's like just bits and pieces of recollections or what, but I do think that it's going to be an interesting read. So recently I was just hanging out on YouTube and came across an interview of James Baldwin. I think he was on a television show, and you know, he's a fascinating person. I was just listening to him speak about things and realized at some point that I don't think I have read his books before. So I ended up purchasing a couple of his books because I wanted to give them a try. And I believe I've read either a short story or an essay by him before, but I wanted to read his actual novels. So I have a couple of them here. I ordered If Bale Street Could Talk. So this is following a young couple named Tish and Fawny. They plan on getting married, but one day Fawny is accused of a crime that he did not commit, and he is unfortunately imprisoned. Both their families set out to try to prove that he is innocent and get him released, and there's obviously a lot of like tumult, and there's a lot of emotions that are going on between this young couple who all they want to do is like have a future together. So I think that this will be, like, first of all, very impactful read, but also I've heard that it's very beautiful as well. It says it's a moving story of love in the face of injustice. Then I also grabbed Notes of a Native Son. So this is actually nonfiction of James Baldwin's, and this is a collection of essays. Nonfiction essays that are basically about life living in Harlem, what it is like to be an African American in America, and you know, everything about culture at the time, movies, protest novels, etc. So I believe that part of this might be in, there's like a new-ish, like, documentary or something that I heard about recently, and I think some of these are discussed in there, perhaps. I'm not 100% sure, don't quote me on that. But yeah, I wanted to grab some of his nonfiction as well. And there is a third book that I ordered as well. It is Go Tell It on a Mountain. That is a work of fiction as well. But the bookstore that I ordered from, they had, I think they had like a fire recently, unfortunately. So they're a little behind in orders and things, so I'm just waiting on that one to come in at some point as well. But yeah. So then I also ended up grabbing Lamb, The Gospel According to Biff, Christ's Childhood Pal by Christopher Moore. My therapist actually recommended this book to me. It's exactly what it sounds like it is. It is all about Jesus. It's basically, you know, the untold story in the ages that you don't see him in the Bible. Well, this is when you're going to learn all about him right up until the end through the eyes of his best friend, Levi, called Biff. So this is like, yeah, as you can imagine, this is a huge piece of satire. I was just like, oh my goodness, what is going on with this book? And I read the first couple of pages and laughed out loud, so I think I'm in for a big treat. So if you're someone who is pretty amused by things like this, you might like this. I don't know, like I said, my therapist recommended me this, so yeah, I'm looking forward to picking this up. Then we move on to fantasy. I grabbed a couple of fantasy novels. One is The Foundling and Other Tales of Perdain by Lloyd Alexander. This is just a short little book that contains a couple of extra stories about the world of Perdain. This is related to the Chronicles of Perdain, which I have talked about a little bit. It's like the Black Cauldron and etc. So I found out that this was a thing and had been searching for it for a while, and I was pretty glad to find a copy of this. And then I also ended up picking up Gallant by Be Schwab. This is following a young girl named Olivia Pryor. She has been growing up in a boarding school, and the only bits of her past that she is aware of are related to her mother's journal, which is basically documenting her mother just absolutely losing her mind. So one day she ends up receiving this letter calling her home to Gallant, the family home. And when she arrives there, none of her relatives really want her there, and they say that they did not send the letter at all. So she is wandering around this big old, like, mansion trying to, like, make sense of things and explore this place that she doesn't really remember, and ends up finding a passage to another Gallant. There's like an alternate version of it, a darker, fantastical version. And there is a mysterious man there who wants to keep her in this alternate Gallant no matter what. So it's like I don't know. It sounds almost like, I don't know, a cross between like Secret Garden and Labyrinth, like super creepy. I'm pretty excited about this copy that I got because, like, first of all, I got a signed copy, and second of all, there's like these creepy kind of drawings in here, and there's like journal entry things, and yeah, it just, I don't know, it's giving me like Neil Gaiman vibes too, but I think this is gonna be super creepy and fun. And then lastly, I got a couple of manga and a graphic novel. So for the manga, I may have mentioned this before, I can't remember, but I have been wanting to finish some of my manga series, and one of my the shortest ones that I have is Wild Ones, and this is a series by Kiyo Fujiwara. So I have 1 through 4. I grabbed volumes 5 and 6, and this is following Sachi. Her mother passed away recently, and she thought she was an orphan until she finds out the grandfather that her mother basically told her was dead is not dead. He has just been estranged from her mom for years, and the reason why is he's actually like the head of a Yakuza gang. So Sachi is kind of pulled into this world suddenly and having to navigate that, as well as being assigned a pretty cute bodyguard whose name is Rakuto, and he's in her grade in school. So yeah, I just grabbed 5 and 6, and I think there's like 9 volumes or something, so hopefully I'll be finished with this series soon. I also ended up, I saw this and I couldn't resist. It's a manga version of Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. The art is by Po Se, and the story adaptation is by Stacey King. I mean, I really like Pride and Prejudice, so I could not help myself, and the art is pretty cool. It reminds me of something very specific. I feel like a manga that I've read like a long time ago. But yeah, I'm just, I don't know, I'm like, I think this is gonna be great to read, and just, I don't know, fun thing to have. And then lastly, I picked up a graphic novel that I have been eyeing for a long time now, and that is volume 1 of Amulet. This is the Stone Keeper. This is by Kazu Kibuishi. So this is following Emily and Naveen. After a family tragedy, they and their mother end up moving back to their ancestral home. But on the very first night in this strange place, their mother is actually kidnapped by this weird, like, tentacled creature. So Emily and Naveen end up setting off to figure out what the heck is going on and to try to find their mom and get her back. So I'm not 100% sure how long this series is, but I do know that there's at least a couple of volumes. And yeah, I've been keeping my eye on it for a while. I think it looks really cool, and the artwork's pretty colorful and kind of cute, so yeah, I'm excited to see what is up with this series. So that's it, guys. That is everything that I purchased recently that I probably didn't need to, but I did because I wanted to, and yeah. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you guys are having a great reading month, and yeah, let me know if you've read any of these and enjoyed them, or if you didn't enjoy them, I guess let me know about that too. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time. Bye.